Do you ever feel like life keeps asking you for more while you quietly run on empty? In this episode, we're uncovering hidden ways constant caregiving and responsibility can drain your spark, and what it takes to finally reclaim presence, energy, and emotional well-being without guilt. Stay tuned. Welcome to Fulfillment Therapy. I'm Kendra Nielsen, wife, mom, and licensed therapist. Do you ever feel like you're doing everything right, but you're still exhausted and empty? Did you think life, marriage, and parenting would be simpler and more rewarding? Sometimes you just want to crawl back into bed and lose yourself in screen time and chocolate, rather than face that personal or family stress. You are not alone. This podcast helps you break free of the rat race and build a richer, more meaningful life, flourishing incrementally and realistically, improving your mental health and wellness, and living with deeper purpose beyond the mundane, no matter where you are in life's journey. Welcome back to Fulfillment Therapy. Today we have a special guest with us here, Heike Yates, and she is a midlife fitness expert, author, and creator of the Spark Framework. She helps midlife women stop dimming their light and feel strong, capable, and confident again, without extremes or starting over. With more than 35 years of experience, her work is practical, compassionate, and designed for real life. She's the host of Pursue Your Spark podcast and author of Pursue Your Spark. So excited to have you on the show today. Thank you for coming, Heike.
Oh, Kendra, it's such a pleasure. And I was like, let's spark everything.
I love it. So you have your own podcast too. Tell us a little bit about that before we jump in.
The Pursue Your Spark podcast is an extension of my business, Pursue Your Spark, and I help midlife women to feel stronger, more connected themselves, and get through the phases in life, what I started coining as the in-between phase. Mm-hmm. And the in-between of midlife to me is between 40 and 80. And many people don't think that they're like 50 is midlife and that's it. But women have become so much more energized and so much more outgoing, so much more powerful that we are reinventing ourselves all the time with new things that strike our fancy. And Pursue Your Spark is addressing the gaps that we find ourselves in, the in-between of the wanting where I am and wanting where I want to go and how to overcome those moments with practical applications of life lived events myself and that of my clients.
I think this is a very necessary topic. I'm glad that we're speaking to it today. What made you excited to teach this? Did you feel like there's just a gap there that nobody was really talking about, or you just love this demographic? What is it?
I hear it all the time. I have not only Pursue Your Spark, which is my online brand, I have a Pilates fitness studio here in Maryland where I see clients one-on-one. And when you work with clients closer, and in my Pursue Your Spark blueprint, I limit the amount of people to 10, so it stays still focused and narrow, and people can talk about what they need to do. I found that once we started moving, people trust me. It's a private atmosphere. The more often than not, the breath work and the movement led to those in-between moments, the gaps. I wish I want. And wouldn't it be great if? So yes, all my experience in teaching Pilates for over 20 years and being a fitness coach for almost 40 years by now with different populations, and also applying what I've learned through all this, becoming a bodybuilder, an ultra marathon runner, an Ironman triathlete, has all translated into how I can mold somebody's workout to where they trust me, that I have plenty of experience, but they trust me enough to share their inner problem.
I'm so glad that there's somebody that is willing to do that. When I think of midlife, I'm like, oh, that's those other people. But I just turned 43, so I guess I'm in that bracket.
In my mind.
I shouldn't be surprised by this, but I'm like, wait, I really 30, maybe even 25 in my mind. But this is true. Like this whole searching inward a little bit more. Like, I was just working with a client this morning that was saying, I think I'm having a midlife crisis. She's just a little older than me. I just feel lost and not really sure what to do, just feeling disappointed with where I'm at right now. And I feel like a lot of us feel that way. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what you notice when your clients come in, what this common theme is, and how they know that they are stuck?
I let them tell me first their stories. And of course, Heike always has her point of view. And they know by now that as a German, I guess it's my German heritage that I'm very direct, that I was like, okay, we need to solve these problems. And it's not a problem. And and I like that you brought up midlife crisis. I don't think midlife is a crisis. I think the pharma industry made us believe it's a crisis. People in the fitness industry or health industry made us believe it's a crisis so we can buy their drugs and we feel terrible about ourselves. I think it's more of a moment where we go, scratch our heads and say, I want something different. I just don't know what it is, maybe. Or how can I reach it if I know that I want something different? And that goes in conjunction with being an empty nester, going through menopause, losing a job, or being done with your career path. And you say, I'm X amount of what I'm 55 and I want to retire now, but what do I do? And for me personally, I have this moment every 10 years. When I turned 30, I had this, what am I going to do now? What's next for me? I've done 2 children, raised them. They're off to school. I have a career, but what else do I want? And at 40, and I will be 65 this year. I had it when I turned 60. I'm like, what am I going to do now? Where do I see Heike growing into in the next 10 years?
Yeah. I think that's a question we all face. Over here, every culture is slightly different, but a lot of people in this age bracket over here, since sometimes they have in the West bigger families, at least in the area that I'm in, many of them are either empty nesters or starting to see that's coming. And they are wondering, like, okay, I put so much time into my family. Maybe is it too late to go back to school? Do I think about a career shift now or even starting? Like, it's so hard to shift from your family and shift more into like your own pursuits potentially. And others, like you said, have maybe been in the thick of the career for a long time, but I do know there's this sense of stumbling a little bit sometimes. But I do appreciate how you said that. Like, it's not a crisis, but it's more wanting something different and trying to figure out what that might be.
Yeah. And I know when, especially with kids leaving, it's so difficult for so many women. We pour our heart and soul into our children to raise them to be decent people and go to a great college and move on. But so many women forget themselves along the way and what they needed. And back then, when my kids had gone to college, and my son at one point, I live in Maryland, and so he was at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, and he got a job out in California. And he says, Mom, I'm going to go all the way across the country. And I'm going, okay, great. I'm like, I want you closer. But he says, I'm really worried about you. And then he said, I don't have to be worried about you, Mom. You made sure you're doing things outside from us. Maybe it was because I'm also was divorced, so I was a little bit forced to be more outgoing and maybe looking a little bit more what I wanted. But he's, Mom, you're dancing salsa. You have all your salsa friends. I'm not worried about you. This is going to be great. And that was a really good feeling for me that he knew I hadn't neglected myself. I wish I would have had more time with them as a divorced mom. It was hard sometimes to make everything work. But I think the more we talk about, have these conversations, the more women listen to that there is something else. And it doesn't mean you're not a good mom when you take time for yourself.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit how this applies in your book? What are people finding that was really helpful? What's something in your book that you really love for those that do feel like they're very conflicted about what to do next?
There are 2 things that I talk about in the book too. One is curiosity, and one is about setting boundaries. I want to start out with curiosity because curiosity leads to so many amazing things. If we just allow ourselves to be a little bit more curious about what could the next phase look like for you, And it doesn't have to be menopause or whatever. Let's not put a timeline on this. It could be at any time you wake up in the morning and you say, I want something different. Be curious about what is available. Learning a new hobby, starting a new job, starting a podcast, whatever it is that lights you up, but be curious and check out what you want deep down. Because I feel that oftentimes those wants and needs that we neglect come from us from childhood. My childhood was about traveling and adventure. I wanted out of Germany. I wanted to go to the big United States and have my big adventure and travel the world. That was my goal. And then I found my first husband, had 2 children. So I had my mom adventure first for the next 18 years and moved from there. But be curious about what is out there. What do your friends do? What did you think back then you wanted to do? And I know sometimes we talk about all these audacious goals that we have. If it was knitting, it could be knitting. It could be cooking a recipe that is maybe complicated. Make it simple. So this curiosity doesn't have to be, I'm taking the yacht to go wherever, or I'm going on a trip around the world. If that's not your comfort zone, pipe it down to what it is that you wanted to do maybe back then. And the next thing that leads me to that is the boundaries. Be curious, but set boundaries with other people. So you will be able to pursue that spark that's suddenly may have been ignited because you were curious. And set boundaries with yourself and how people treat you and talk to you, as well as other people saying, and we love saying this, of course, in our industry, is say no. It's one sentence, which can be really hard to say no. But think about what are the boundaries that you feel comfortable starting to develop as you are curious.
I am a big believer in boundaries. I love them. I feel like every conversation I have with a client goes back to boundaries. But I want to talk about that first part too, curiosity. Actually, just working with another client this morning about that. And she just often feels very deflated and just disappointed with life in general, with where she thought she would be right now. And so we talk a lot about that as part of her treatment goals and the things she wants to put more attention into. And she often leads with shame, guilt, anger, and disappointment with yourself instead of getting curious and going a little bit deeper, like you talked about, those neglected wants and needs, or just what might our intuition or our bodies be telling us? What is that thing that lights you up? And I'm obviously on this podcast, fulfillment therapy, that's something I talk a lot about, but I love that other people are talking about that too, instead of it being this shameful thing, it being an exciting thing, something that we finally can explore a little bit more. And even though it makes us a little restless and uncomfortable, which I know it does a lot of my clients, instead leaning into that a little bit and allowing yourself the space to explore that instead of resisting it. Do you see that a lot? People
yes. There, all the things, shame, guilt, afraid, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, all these things. And I always wonder, who the heck taught you that? This is, to me, it's almost like a learned behavior. Women should feel this way if they want something for themselves, whether it's passed down from our grandmothers or mothers or just society. My clients have the same, oh, I shouldn't be wanting this. Why not? And take time away from the grandkids. I'm like, they would have a happier grandma. Or if grandma is going, yay, I play pickleball, I'm rocking it, it's something to share with them. I feel, again, and I'm loving that you're coaching this as well with your clients, that we need to let go of these preconceived notions. None of us woke up in the morning and said, if I don't make my husband lunch, I feel guilty. It comes from somewhere and it needs to go away.
Definitely. And I encourage my clients to there's different ways to say it. I won't go into all of it, but do we matter as much as other people? Do we value ourselves and our own needs as much as we value them for others? It's not that we don't love other people, but that we have this self-respect and we're willing to advocate for ourselves like we would for our kids or a spouse or somebody else that we love. And it is so hard to lean into that when it does feel so alien, when we've been potentially just caring for others for decades. Many of us have been, and it's hard to let go of some of that. You just talked about that with grandkids, but my client was just saying for her nieces and nephews, she really helps quite a bit. And you know what? I wonder what it would look like to back off of all that babysitting for a little bit, even if it were about a month, and help you become who you were meant to become instead of putting off the things that you know will help you become more joyful and fulfilled. And just like you said, like that can be something where she could be more of a support to her loved ones instead of less by tending to some of her own needs that have been neglected for so long.
I also feel that we're afraid that people get angry at us if we don't abide to what they want. And your babysitting is a great example. As I did a while back, I did a YouTube video. I was in Amsterdam, and when my first grandchild was born, Lila, who's now 4, and I said, I'd love to come and help and be over there. And I said, okay, I'll come for a whole month. I resented pretty much every moment I was there. And the reason is not that I didn't love the kids, I didn't want to babysit and be there, but I became the perpetual babysitter. Oma, which is the German grandma, was there, and Oma would just show up. She had to be there all the time, no matter what everybody else's plan was. I would come to their apartment and say, hey, I'm here. And they're like, oh, we forgot to tell you, we're going to the doctor now. You have the morning off. And I was like, why didn't anybody tell me this? I would have made other plans to do something with my time, but my time suddenly became not my own. And I felt really sad about this. And I'm like, I don't want to do this again, or I have to learn. And that was a new situation with the boundaries, to set up boundaries with my son and his family. And saying, here, listen, we have to have a conversation. It does come up often that they just want to go, oh, yeah, whatever. And I'm going like, hey, wait a minute. And you know that example when they stood me up for the doctor's appointment? I said, fine. Took my bicycle, picked the destination somewhere in Amsterdam, and I just spent the next 3 hours bicycling through Amsterdam and having a lunch, enjoyed myself. And when I came back, they said, where did you go? We were worried about you. And I said, did you expect me to sit there and twiddle my thumbs till you guys come back? Yeah. They were confused. I'm like, what, which? I said, oh my God, did you guys go there? And I traveled a bike to this neighborhood, and I'm quite gutsy when it comes to biking in Amsterdam. There's a lot of bikes. We feel that people get angry with us when we don't do what they want us to do. And that is also a big pill to swallow for us, and say, you know what? Don't be angry at me.
That reminds me of just that bracket of 40 to 80. Obviously, a lot of different things are happening in that. But I think all of us can relate in that, probably many more ages than even that. It is about boundaries and that self-advocacy and standing up for yourself. And a lot of times, I think people don't even recognize what it is they're doing or expecting until we are more assertive, until we communicate more clearly what is and is not okay. We're training people how to treat us. So I love that you were able to recognize that and maybe get a little more clear on what you are okay with. Because then what ends up happening is we build up this resentment, and that doesn't draw us any closer to joy, fulfillment, finding our spark, any of those things that we want when we're stuck in those places. So I can understand why you'd really focus on curiosity and boundaries both, because they go hand in hand. Thank you for sharing that part of it. Tell me something else, if you wouldn't mind, anything from the book, like a story or that you feel would really speak to listeners that are in these stages, anything that you can think of.
So my client, who's 80 years old, said, I'm going to go visit my daughter. And my husband is not doing well, so another family member will take care of him. I just need a break. I want to visit her and hang out with her just by myself without him not being mobile, needing a walker, and all these kind of things. And she's uber super fit with 80 and also outgoing, and she's singing. So she has a rich life. So she went to see her daughter, and she did what she wanted to do. They went to cafes, as she told me afterwards. So when she comes back, she beams. She comes and walks in the door. It's like, Heike, this was the best thing ever. I'm like, what happened? Oh, we went out for coffee, we had tea, we went a little shopping. I actually lay in my room and read a book without being interrupted. It was heaven. This was great. And she literally sparked out of her head and ears. That's how excited she was. And she said, I feel like myself again. And literally a light bulb went off in my head. What I had at this point, and I wrote and published my book last year in 2025, I always thought when people said, I want to feel like myself again, that they referred to the younger self.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be like in my 20s. I want to be like in my 30s. But it was not. It was about taking back what you really deep down wanted and what is fulfilling you without tethers, without somebody dragging you back or holding you back, living fully to what it is that you want to do. And that's how my book started. And that's how my book came to be. And I wasn't quite sure where I was going to go with this. And I said, you just gave me the idea for my book. And when I finished writing the book, of course, she got a copy. And she says, you wrote my story. And I said, I told you you gave me the book. So this can happen to all of us, that we are so inundated with where we are in life and we don't see anymore the other side of where we want to be, or even forgot who we are because we're so surrounded by people that we feel need us.
And with that, those people that need us, whether it's an aging spouse, whether it's your kids that need help with childcare, whatever that might be. Thanks for spending time with us on Fulfillment Therapy. If this conversation spoke to you, check out our online courses. Ignite your life, mend your marriage, find your focus, and free others. All designed to help you create deeper personal and family fulfillment. You can explore them at fulfillmenttherapy.org or email us at hello@fulfillmenttherapy.org if you'd love a free coaching call that might even become a podcast episode. And if you enjoyed this, please take a moment to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or share this episode with a friend. It truly helps spread hope and fulfillment to more families. Stay tuned for part 2. Hey friends, if you enjoyed this episode, a quick 30-second share can help someone else find support and help this podcast grow. Leaving a review on Apple Podcasts boosts visibility and keeps the show alive. Your simple acts make a big difference. I'll see you back here each week for more life-changing episodes.